everyone, Spider Fanboy here, and I think it's about time I live up to my channel name. And today our what if is going to be in regards to Spider-Man himself, the one and only, specifically Tom Holland Spider-Man from the MCU, and it's going to be what if Spider-Man wasn't stupid? It's literally as simple as that. I might make it a little less, I might just replace stupid with dumb, but yeah, considering, Far From Home and how that went down, I'm gonna be changing some aspects of the story. What I think, how he should have been, or at least like, not being so. I'm sorry, it really bothered me, like everything that happened in that movie, the events of that movie. So yeah, we're gonna be kind of stepping in a little bit of a rewrite, but we're also gonna be changing just a few aspects of his character, nothing too crazy. Um, but yeah, let's go on ahead and let's start things off. So it's gonna start, kind of similarly to how it initially did in the movie. The main difference here is that it's gonna be much more obvious that he's in need of a vacation. Ever since the events of Endgame, the final battle against Thanos, and Tony Stark's death, Peter has really been pushing himself to really get back into connecting with New York. He's been taking down a lot of street crime, and we can even see that deleted scene that was from all of the trailers where he's in his Iron Spider suit and he's working with the police to take down that crime family. I actually think they were supposed to be a reference to the mafia of the comic book New York. So we could say that he's actually taking down the mafia. Um, maybe they have some connections to either Kingpin. I again I can't exactly remember what exactly they were supposed to be connected to. But we can easily say, throw in like a little reference. Maybe they're more connected to the Magia, to one of the Magia crime families. And he says that he'd love to help them more, but he'd love to help the police more, but he's gonna be going out on vacation. But here he's been considering he's been pushing himself, even though he does want the vacation, he does want the break from everything. He also acknowledges that he can't fully separate his life of Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and he's actually been meshing them relatively well. Um, Coordinating with Aunt May and Happy to appear at like the social events, like how he does in the movie. He does still pop up um, during I believe it was for Feast. It was a charity event for Feast. Um, and even if it wasn't, we can easily say that it is. We can just change that. If it wasn't clarified in the movie, we can make it clear that she's helping out with Feast, and he pops in to he does his pop up, and he has his little moment where he kind of panics. He has like that brief moment where he kind of spaces out before leaving, and he looks up and he sees Tony's mural. And by the way, we're bringing back Karen. I don't know why she was gone. She was so cool. I know everyone loved her. A lot, his AI from his homecoming suit. I know a lot of people think it's because he lost his mask, but like that was an AI Tony Stark developed. You really think she was only housed in the mask? I mean, she was clearly connected to Stark servers, and so I wouldn't be surprised if she like got backed up from like just before he went to help Tony, and just before the events of Infinity War. So she's actually been helping him. She's integrated with the Iron Spider suit. He is going to be leaving the Iron Spider suit here to in that little charging port thing that he has, but instead of having May send his homecoming suit with him, he's actually going to be packing it up. He's also been practicing with it, just to make sure that he doesn't get rusty and over reliant on the Iron Spider suit. He more practices with it with Ned. He'll practice like the various web combinations, and he's really been, focused, but he's also been mainly focusing on street level New York crime. Organized crime kind of really, it did its best to step up in the vacuum. There was obviously a big vacuum of power with everyone being dusted, but there were some organized crime organizations and wannabe crime bosses who stepped up to the plate after all of these superheroes and a lot of the supervillains were dusted. So he's been working to clean that up, but he has his little plan to confess to MJ, and this is like the one thing he wants to keep separate. He's fine with working with Ned on Spider-Man stuff and homework. He's fine with sharing some of the stuff that he does as Spider-Man with Aunt May, helping out with promoting Feast, and he's fine, you know, sticking close to and communicating with Happy. But MJ, he kind of wants that relationship with her to be the one thing that's just purely Peter Parker. He knows maybe eventually, if he really does want to get serious with her, he'll have to bring her into the fold. But he wants to enjoy the more domestic almost kind of thing, the more the more homey, not superhero stuff. He wants this to be like the one normal thing he can enjoy, the one like seemingly mundane. And when we get to that fight with the fake Hydro Man, he is still unfortunately caught off guard. It's not going to be changing too much. When he meets Beck, he's still just as excited. But when it comes to taking down Molten Man, um, initially not much is going to be changed. When he does end up gaining access to Edith, um, yeah, so he does initially meet up with Beck, and here when he meets up with Fury and everyone, he tells them that he's fine with helping, but he does still ask why don't you get into contact with any of the other Avengers? And Fury, he ends up declining, and he kind of gets a sense that something ain't right. But he's not really going to be calling out Nick Fury to his face. He was fine to hang up on him on the phone, but he's not going to be trying his luck directly to his face, or at least to who he thinks is Nick Fury. Um, so here he actually plans. He actually, he makes a plan with Fury. Like, well, how exactly are we going to get to Prague? I still want to keep up appearances. I mean, um, I wouldn't be surprised if someone suspects already. My friend was able to figure it out, even if it was on accident. I don't want to risk spilling out my identity. And Fury accommodates, and here he's actually going to be let in on the fact that their trip is going to be changing from Paris to Prague. He's definitely a little upset, but he's like, well, he's like, I can salvage this. It wouldn't be the worst thing. And so he's actually going to be letting Ned know. He's going to be like, yeah, I think I just talked things out with Nick Fury. I'm pretty sure he's going to hijack our summer vacation. So he says that line like the night before. And when he gets the stealth suit, he's that's gonna be the same. I kind of like how it looks, but when he gets handed Edith, yeah, things with Edith, this is where things are going to start changing. Um, he's not gonna be accidentally uh, ordering an orbital strike. When he connects with Edith, it notices that when it scans like his biometrics and like logs him in as its user, it noticed that he has it asks him if he wants to establish a connection between the Edith program and Karen, his own AI, and he actually agrees. So he's actually going to be having Karen isn't going to be able to take control of anything, but he'll be able to confer with her, and Karen does have access to the Iron Spider suit, which is going to be coming in handy later. But it might, we'll see. But she with Karen being around to kind of coach and teach this much younger AI, because as we see, the AIs kind of evolve, like from Jarvis to Friday to Karen and to Edith. They kind of grow and evolve. They learn more. So Edith was taking a lot of what Peter was saying at face value, but here Karen can definitely act as like a coach to Edith, telling him like, I'm pretty sure that's not exactly what Peter was trying to get across, and is able to prevent, or at least it advises Edith that taking take or ordering an orbital strike on a target so close to Peter would put him in danger, especially since they're on a moving vehicle on a cliffside, like on the road of a side of the mountain. So Edith acknowledges this and once again asks Peter if the orbital strike is what exactly what he wants, and he's like, no, no, that's not what I want. He's finally gotten away from those conversations he kept getting caught up in with his classmates, so he's able to avoid the whole drone thing and instead is able to with Karen like correcting him and saying, or correcting, more so correcting Edith so that she doesn't automatically assume what exactly Peter wants to do. He's able to disable or delete the photos that what was his name? Davis, that weird Davis guy had. I don't even know his name. I don't like him. Brad, I think that's what it is. Brad Davis. They're able to delete his photos. The Battle of the Yeah, he does also use Ida to or Edith. Ida, what the hell? He does use Edith to get his classmates into the opera, and he does. Maybe he actually has like a little bit of a back and forth with Karen. Karen is similarly to how she was with Peter and Liz. She's encouraging him to try to take his take whatever shots he can with Michelle, but he does eventually get dragged into the battle with the elemental. And Karen does, Edith herself actually kind of steps in. She unknowingly is like, she's a little bit more logic based. She's not quite developed her personality yet. So she's like, but Peter has to assist in taking down this elemental. It's very clearly an Avengers level threat. And like, Karen is the equivalent of giving her like the, what the fuck dude stare. Like the, what the hell, bro? Like, well, why are you interrupting? We're trying to get Peter laid. We're trying to get him his girl. What are you doing? You're messing up the plan. But the main big difference is that with Karen being the very hopeful voice in his ear, as well as being connected to the Edith glasses, she actually talks some sense into him. And when he's wearing the glasses, face to face with Beck, um, Karen encourages. He's like she encourages Peter to her systems have pinged something about Beck, but she can't make full use of all of the capabilities of the glasses of Edith. So she instead advises Peter to instruct Edith to run a facial scan, which he mutters to himself. Beck doesn't quite catch it. Peter himself is confused, but he does listen to Karen's advice. He instructs Edith to run the facial scan, and it comes up Quentin Beck, the former employee to Stark Industries, and fired for all of his headspace issues, his anger issues, and I think it was like he was supposed to be like a schizophrenic or something. He had like bipolar. I don't know. It was basically noted that he was let go due to his mental instability, and Peter ends up kind of backing out of the conversation. He does, he thanks Beck for encouraging him, and he's like, I think I'm gonna go talk to MJ. I'm gonna see if I can make things work. And he ends up bolting out, and Beck kind of like he's kind of stuck. He's kind of frozen. He's like, damn it. All right, everyone. I think it's about time we move on to Plan B. So Peter is trying to get back to his group. He's trying to get into contact with Fury as quickly as he can, and he's trying to get back. He's like telling Edith to try to send an encrypted message to Fury, or at least to Happy, to anyone that she can. Send all the information regarding Quentin back to them, and or at the very least, since he does still think Beck is from a different universe, but he's also taking into account that his own Quentin Beck, at least to his knowledge, his universe is Quentin Beck. Not that he's aware this isn't from another universe, but he's like, to my knowledge, my version of Quentin Beck is a bad guy. I don't know if this other Quentin Beck really is a good guy. I don't know if he really is mentally stable. This could be just another one of Mr. Stark's old enemies coming up to make a mess of things. So he ends up like well, he's not going to be sending an immediate message to everyone, but he is going to be like be ready to send a message in regards to Quentin Beck and everything we have on him from our universe to anyone who can help, whether it be Happy, whether it be Nick Fury, whether it be any other Avenger they can get a connection to, even to Miss Potts. Even though he hasn't really talked to her since the funeral, he's like, she's basically the head of Stark Industries now. If anyone will be able to check if this is the Beck from our universe, it's probably going to be her and all of the resources that she has available. So just be ready to. He's like basically telling them to be ready to get into contact with anyone that he can, with anyone that they can in regards to Beck. And here he ends up he does end up running into Michelle, and he kind of wants to take his mind off of the whole thing. But then they find, they talk on the bridge. He ends up revealing that he's Spider-Man, or she kind of calls him out on it, and they discover that it's all illusion tech. And this is like he immediately brings out he like when he has that moment where he turns away, he also begins to bring out the glasses, and he turns to Michelle. He's like, "I am Spider-Man, and I think I might be able to save us." And they end up running off to the hotel room. He's put on Edith. He briefly explains it to MJ, but he's also like, "We got to do this inside. We can't have anyone watching." And she's kind of like, that could give people the wrong message. She's like, "Well, I'd rather have them think it's that than that I'm Spider-Man." So they get inside, and he actually tells Edith to send all of the information that they have um, to send all the information that they have in regards to Beck to Fury, to everyone, to Miss Potts. They notice that everything was staged, and to try to get this information out so that whatever plan that he has can't go into fruition. It's clear he's been trying to um, he as well as MJ, when he ends up explaining things to her, are able to piece together that it's clear that he's staging all of this to make himself look better. But Peter decides he does need to meet in person with Fury. He'll be sending all of the information to Happy and to Pepper, and he also sends a notice to May to be careful, just in case. He has no idea what kind of resources Beck has, but if he was able to orchestrate all of this with drone and illusionary technology, he has no idea what else he has up his sleeve, what kind of connections he has. He knows these things can get out of control very quickly, so he also, he does send that message to May before telling them to go dark. He actually puts on his he's gonna be putting on the Night Monkey suit. He hands the one of the web shooters from his Stark suit to MJ, and he gives the other one to Ned when he pops into the room. And he tells the both of them, I sent a message to May, but make sure to call her and have her make it seem like I'm staying with a relative or something. I'm gonna go and meet up with Fury in person, try to get this all sorted out. Be careful, be on the lookout, and whatever you do, don't tell anyone. Don't trust them. And he ends up leaving out to he leaves to go meet up with Fury. Fury and Hill are, they receive the information, and here he's actually able to meet up with Fury and Hill for reals. He actually ends up meeting with them in actuality instead of it just being something back set up from the very beginning. So he actually ends up meeting up with again, it's Talos and his wife in disguise, but to him it's Fury and Hill. They actually meet up, and oh damn, that was a good finger crack. He's talking things out with them. Or no, I'm still gonna have him kind of fall for the trap. Okay, here's how it's gonna work. He ends up getting into communications with Fury and Hill, and they end up telling him to meet up with him. They'll meet up with him soon. That he needs to get to Berlin as quickly as possible, and from there they'll plan things out. Talos and his wife, when they end up hanging up, Talos and his wife are kind of like they're kind of freaking out, but they're like, okay, okay, we have this, we got this in the bag. We just got to meet up with the kid tomorrow in Berlin. Here we kind of get this is where it kind of becomes clear that it's not Fury. He's obviously not to the level of Fury because they end up missing Peter by like a few minutes. We'll say like they end up literally missing him. It's kind of like one of those cliche scenes. He gets into the car with fake Fury, and they drive off. And like literally as that's happening, Talos in disguise as Fury and his wife in disguise as Hill end up pulling up to where they were supposed to meet Peter. And Peter's confrontation with Beck is going to go about the same. Obviously, we can say that maybe it's not as elaborate since he doesn't have access to as many drones. He obviously still had access to quite a few, but he's not going to be having access to like the literal legions of drones that he had quite yet. So here he instead of he's able to get him to that point where he's all panicked, and instead of just revealing the 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 danger of the dangers of and instead of just revealing the who else knows about everything, he reveals that uh just my friend Ned and MJ, they're the only ones that know. I sent the information out through Edith to plenty of other people, to Happy, to Happy, to Pepper, to Miss Potts, and then he does end up getting tricked, and Fury, in which is Beck in disguise, he asks him, "Okay, what about the glasses? Did Beck get his hands on them? Where are they?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. I left them with the rest of my gear, with Ned and MJ. The glasses are safe. Edith is safe." And this is where he gets tricked into being hit by the train, and he's gonna be taken out. And I didn't mention this before, but he did leave Edith and as a result Karen with Ned and MJ. Ned himself has some experience with Karen, and MJ is aware of Edith, so they kind of trade that. They trade those little stories about the two AIs and the glasses, and he's hit by that train, and he has to get in contact with Happy, who, since he's aware of Beck and the illusionary technology, he actually asked him to confirm. Happy initially asked him like over the phone about like a little password between the two of them, and then when they meet up, Peter does the same thing, and we still get that funny scene in regards to the adult movie that he apparently watched. He ends up crafting his suit. He does still kind of have that moment. This is where he finally begins to, like, the cracks in his facade that he's been trying to put up this whole time finally begin to show, and he breaks down in front of Happy, but he tells him like they need to plan, they need to take care of things, and he's like, well, where are he's like, what about the glasses that Tony left you? And he's like, I left those with my friends. Can we get into contact with glasses? He's like, yeah, I have access to this plane can get into contact with nearly anything, and even then, if not, we can just go through Pepper. And he's like, do we really need to bring Miss Potts into this? He's like, she's a lot she's a lot tougher than she looks. Trust me. She participated in the final fight. She's tougher than nails. She'll be able to help. And he's like, I just don't want to take away her attention from whatever she's doing. He's like, trust me, Pete. She'll understand. So they actually get into contact with Pepper, who is able to get into contact with Edith, and is actually able to make contact with Ned and MJ. As here, the storm elemental thing isn't going to be as wide of a scale. It's clear he had a good amount of drones, and he was able to simulate the growing effect of Molten Man. So here, the storm elemental, that's what I always called it. Um, he is able to simulate some. It's like not to the same grandiose effect, but it's very still very clearly a great threat to all of the innocent bystanders. He can only kind of make it like that smaller version that he had in that little training scene where he was practicing, and where he initially noticed the missing drone. But yeah, his main target is getting to the glasses. Those people that he had lock up the bus. I think it was like the bus driver was one of his guys in disguise. He's actually gonna be he's gonna be locking it. He's gonna be locking himself in there with them, and he's gonna try and get to Ned and MJ and the glasses that they have. And they're quick to notice this, especially since they got the heads up from Pepper. Luckily, they not only both have access to one of Peter's web shooters each, but they're able to use Edith to take control of the drones. Now, Ned and MJ are in a very panicked state and they don't know how to properly work Edith. And Edith herself is still learning. Karen is trying to help, but she's still learning. So she takes whatever command she's given as very literally, or she tries to interpret them to the best of her capabilities. So it kind of makes like a bit of a game of taking control and accidentally losing control or doing something stupid and reckless with the drones, while the guy who's running the drones from Mysterio is trying to reclaim his control wherever he can. So it's disrupting the illusion. People are beginning to notice. They're making recordings of it, and this is when Peter eventually shows up. He shows up. He begins to take down all of the drones that he's trying to take them down as quickly as possible. Edith actually almost accidentally attacks him because she presumes that these are supposed to be used to help MJ and Ned, Peter's allies. And Pepper did give them like mainly MJ because she kind of trusted her more. She could see that she kind of saw a little bit of herself in her, that she was able to keep a relatively cool head. You know, not the coolest head, but she was definitely going to be the more focused between her and Ned. It was clear Ned was going to let the excitement and the adrenaline and everything get to him. So she trusted more MJ with it, with the Edith glasses, and told her to wear them. And they're able to use the web shooters to subdue the guy. And this kind of shocks the rest of the class, but they're quick to try to they're quick to kind of ignore it and trying to get out of the bus as quickly as possible. Or it could be that Ned and MJ are able to get everyone else out before webbing up the guy and escaping themselves. They're like, "Oh, we knocked them out," you know. Ned kind of gets carried away with the story. He's like, "Yeah, just pulled some self-defense classes," and they end up meeting with Happy, Ned and MJ, and yeah, I think it was like Ned, MJ, Betty, and Happy. They end up and like Flash. They end up meeting up with Happy. They're able to prevent that whole thing with getting trapped by the drone, since Edith is able to take control of them. But MJ is still doing her best to keep her. She's trying to keep the glasses with her, but she is luckily able to do. Peter is able to take down the much smaller legion of drones with much more ease, and he is in that slick black and red costume with the white spider on the back. Oh, I love the look of that suit from Far From Home. He's able to take care of Beck, and while Beck does try to, um, here Peter doesn't need to, make the command. MJ is eventually able, if not MJ, then Pepper definitely ends up intervening since she's been watching all of this going on. And Talos and his wife are still able to take care of themselves just fine. They're able to take care of that one in disguise drone that was sent to take down Fury. Um, and here they're actually able to expose Mysterio. So they've been working, they've been gathering evidence, and the battle is all taken care of. Peter does still take down Beck with absolute ease. It is a complete wash. He's able to. He's not even nearly as critically injured. He's not going to be having that limp. Maybe he does still have like his suit is a little beat up. It's a little torn in some places, and maybe he has like a busted. Maybe he has like a little busted cut over like one of his eyes or his lips when he takes off the mask. But otherwise, he's completely fine. He's not going to be limping around. Maybe he got caught off guard once or twice, but he ends up reconvening with MJ. They have their nice kiss, and he gives her the now unfortunately broken necklace. And when his identity is revealed, sadly, they were able to get this one little thing out of the way. They weren't able to frame Spider-Man. They didn't have the same kind of footage that they had, where he's like execute them all. But they did try to put the spin. Here is a much more desperate attempt, and yeah, it's not going to be good for this universe's J. Jonah Jameson. He's already bald, and it's definitely not good. He's going to be looking more like a conspiracy theorist. Um, but his identity does unfortunately still get exposed at the end of the movie. Um, that's not going to be good for him, but luckily with the help, since he already has those kind of pre-established connections, as well as and with the help of Edith, and luckily the status of Edith isn't going to be revealed. Maybe they do try to use that against them, but maybe he tries to use some footage he got of Spider-Man when he was talking with Peter right before he got hit by the train, revealing that what Edith was and the fact that it was entrusted to some teenagers. But since Pepper has been involved in this, she's actually able to give a proper statement. She's able to pull out some of that Stark Industries lawyer money. She's able to pull out some Stark Industries lawyers. She's able to clear everyone's names. And here, the public perception on Spider-Man isn't going to be nearly as bad. They're not going to be as hated. And even though they're definitely going to be popular and the internet's going to be the internet, society isn't going to be as turned against Peter. They're not going to be throwing things at him from the streets. His name and the names of everyone else who was involved is going to luckily be cleared. But he does not want to allow this to ever happen again. So he is going to be he's working on a little something to give himself the edge that he needs, because we're not going to be getting Far From Home, sadly. We're not going to be getting it the way we got it in the movie. I'm going to be going with one of the theories that I myself and I'm sure a lot of other people had, that it was going to be an adaptation of Craven, that we were going to get Craven in the movie and that he was going to be involved in hunting down Peter Parker. So this is where we start getting into some original story, some like real original arc. But Far From Home is going to be much different. We're not going to be getting involved with the multiverse with Spider-Man in the MCU just yet, but I want to briefly follow up on what I was talking about before. Him taking down one of the Magia crime families. Now that his identity has been revealed, and the fact that he's been working himself so hard to take care of everyone, of like all of this street level crime, and now that the fact that his identity is public, everything is going to be much more dangerous from him and his family going forward. So, from what I can understand, the events of Far From Home take place in, um, summer of like 2024, I believe. It's supposed to be summer of 2024, and I think it's supposed to be summer of 2024, and the end of No Way Home, when we get that final post-credit scene with him swinging through, and it's Christmas time. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be December of 2025. So the events of No Way Home, of him, battling against um, battling against everyone when he gets into the multiverse shenanigans. That's supposed to be sometime before like 2025. Cause yeah, it's supposed to be sometime in. Is it in the same year? I think it's supposed to be in. Let me check real quick on the wiki. Let me see the timeline. Yeah, okay, so it was released in 2021. When does it take place? Ah, okay, hold on. Let me see when it is. It was Christmas of what, 2020? I'm pretty sure it was Christmas of like 2025 when it ended up ending. So early in the movie, it would have been around Christmas. No, no, it doesn't look like it. Is it still in 2024? Yeah, because he has to study for his GED, so he would graduate in 2025. Yeah, everyone is planning to go to college in 2025. Okay. So this is gonna be like, a few months time skip. Um, he's making use of his new black suit, and he has some plans to kind of improve using some of the nanotechnology to improve upon his suit. He has a few ideas, but he hasn't been able to make too much headway with it because he's been very busy with school, his relationship with MJ, and juggling Spider-Man responsibilities. Ever since the reveal of his identity, it's become much more dangerous in the fact that instead of it being the public being the danger, it's his enemies, the enemies that he's made in the criminal underworld. So here we're finally going to be getting a little bit of a. We're finally going to be making use of that plot point from Homecoming with Mac Gargan, the Scorpion. So we're kind of gonna get a little bit of an origins, an Arkham Origins storyline. So here he's gonna end up one night when he's on patrol, he's out and he's taking down he's busting up a robbery, and sometime near the end of it, he doesn't really pay it too much attention, but he's told that if he keeps interfering, Hammerhead, if he keeps interfering in this, he's gonna if he keeps interfering with like basic crime, one of these days, one of the big crime bosses is gonna be one of the big bosses is gonna be sending someone to take care of that little girlfriend of his, and this definitely gets him pissed. He just punches him a little harder than normal, and he than he normally would, and he knocks him out before leaving. But he's definitely keeping that in like the back of his head. So he actually ends up sending a notice to Karen. Um, he tells her to send some. He tells her to get him into contact with Edith, who he has now integrated into his Iron Spider suit. He has Karen in all of his suits, but Edith is mainly in his Iron Spider suit. So he tells her to send a message to Karen, to get connected to his computer, and to basically get connected with some Stark resources, and to ask for an update on the on everyone that he's close to. With their permission, of course. He's not going to be doing this behind their back since they're all in the know, basically. Um, they've been making use of Edith to keep an eye on everyone that Peter is close to, whether it be through not so much like constantly spying them, but to ensure that no suspicious activity, like the second that something suspicious begins to happen in their vicinity, if like a known criminal, someone with a criminal record, or someone who suspiciously doesn't have any kind of record whatsoever, anyone of suspicion, if they're noticed frequenting any place that like say where the coffee shop where Michelle works, or the neighborhood where Ned lives with his Lola, or any of the feast centers, um, they'll be able to notify they'll be able to launch a more private investigation, and to basically preemptively take care of any threats to the people that he cares about. We can easily say that maybe May and Ned are a little concerned. Ned kind of does think it's cool. May is definitely a little concerned, but she also understands the 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 worries that her nephew has. And MJ herself is the most understanding. She's the most logical about it. She understands that it just makes the most amount of sense. And maybe in any other circumstance it'd bother her, but considering she's also been Peter has trusted her with a specifically designed set of bracelets, which are kind of like those little web shooters that Peter has in the PlayStation game, in the Insomniac game, where they're like little wristbands, and he can attach them onto his wristbands whenever he wants. Um, Maybe it's like that, but instead they form using like nanotech. The fact that that he's given this to her and has taught her how to use them. Same with Ned and Aunt May, and they also send out like distress beacons whenever they're being used. Um, because if they're being used, they're being used if they're in danger. Ned himself accidentally triggered them a few times, but he quickly learned that they're supposed to be used only when they're in danger. She understands, and she was actually a bit of an advocate for it. Um, she spoke to May when she kind of expressed her concerns to Peter about it, and her and May had a little bit of a bonding session throughout this little conversation of theirs. But yeah, so they're all trying to get ready to, head out to MIT. Peter himself is actually, um, he has his sights set on a dream job of his. Um, while he for sure would love and appreciate working at Stark Industries, he wants to kind of separate himself from them, not out of any kind of negative feelings, and not even out of some kind of sense of I don't want to burden Miss Potts anymore, but more so that he wants to become his own man, his own hero. He acknowledges that it's about time he stopped relying on everything that Tony's given him and start making something for himself, the way Tony started making things for himself after the death of his father. How he took the arc reactor and made it into something new and much more expansive, and how he ended up developing the Iron Man armor from that. He wants to do the same. He wants to make use of this nanotechnology of Stark Industries and innovate it into something new at Horizon Labs. Um, sorry for my dog. In the comics, he actually worked at Horizon Labs, I believe, after the events of the Superior Spider-Man comics, and they're basically Star Labs. They're kind. I always kind of saw it as like the equivalent to Star Labs from DC Comics. They're kind of like the everything laboratory science organization that you could that's more so on the side of good. Not always, but more so. More often than not, they're on the side of the heroes. But he's hoping to work at Horizon Labs. He wants to and he also wants to branch out. He wants to go back into his original roots of moving beyond just machine-based technology. He wants to go back into some biochemistry. But either way, he is going to be on the lookout for any upcoming threats to himself or his loved ones, and he's not going to be seeing what's coming next. So behind the scenes, we are going to be having some very prominent. That's my sister's cat. You can see him right there. Um, we're going to be having some very, very prominent figures in the criminal underworld turning their eye towards Peter Parker. Now, they know that he's basically under the protection of Stark Industries and that their technology and their resources are no joke. So they're going to have to play this as carefully as they can. But they have a bit of a plan. They have recently recruited the Mac Gargan, and the three who have decided to meet up and make this plan are doing so in the sorry, hold on. They're doing so for the sake of common interest. They normally be taking the opportunity to put a bullet through each other's skulls, but right now they need to take care of this pest problem. Um, at this little meeting of crime bosses is Hammerhead, the current head of all of the entirety of the Magia. He has taken control of all of the Magia families, except for the one that the Bug took care of a while back. He had been hoping to get them under his thumb and take control of their resources, but then the Bug ended up stepping in. He was able to salvage some of their resources using his own connections at the NYCPD, but it wasn't enough in his opinion. Beyond that, we also have the big man of crime, Tombstone, aka Lonnie Lincoln. And any fans of Spectacular Spider-Man know exactly how he's going to be operating. He wants to just take care of this pest problem before it begins to infringe on his business. He's been trying to get into the spider's been interfering in Harlem of all places, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. He wants to take control of Harlem for himself before he can really move into the inner city of Manhattan and claim his title as the big man. And he also wants to claim the title of a certain someone who has been making a recent comeback, the kingpin of crime, Wilson Fisk. Now, at during the events of the snap, and even before, he had to deal with his own vigilante problem, and that kind of put him out of the crime scene, the organized crime scene, for a bit. He had to take some time, move abroad, collect his resources so that he could come back and claim what was rightfully his. But then the snap happened, and it destabilized everything: organized crime, the economy, society as a whole. So he had been waiting, he had been biding his time, letting these two upstarts, these two rookies to the big organized crime scene, make their debuts and try to make a name for themselves before he stepped in and reminded everyone why he was called the kingpin of crime. Apparently, um, the Daredevil, as he was called, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, has kind of been busy dealing with some things himself. Um, but it seems as though he suspects that he may be making a move to confront the spider, and this could lead to them teaming up, which would be bad for all of them, especially if they met up with that one guy that Tombstone has been dealing with in Harlem. What was his name? Mr. Cage? Oh, that would be very troublesome indeed if all of these little street time vigilantes were to consolidate their forces. He thinks it's about time that they do the same. Get ahead of the curve. And he even has some backup to help reinforce that point that these gentlemen should not be interfering in the lives of and the works of the criminal underworld. That for the sake and safety of their own little families and people that they care for, they should mind their own business and stay out of the way. I thought he left a turd over there. But he ends up calling out to the shadows, and from it steps out a man in green armor. From what they can see through the visor that he has, and I'm gonna have it be the PS4 suit. From what they can see from the orange visor on his green helmet, he seems to have some kind of burnings, kind of poking out from the visor. But he has a maniacal grin, and in his eyes, it's very clear that he is insane. That he's not exactly right in the head. And Kingpin introduces Mac Gargan, otherwise known as the Scorpion, or at least that's what he likes to be called. He's so very helpfully, very gleefully volunteered himself and his services to take down this little pest. He asks them if they have anything to bring to the table themselves. Pausing for a moment, he also calls down. He also apologizes. He should call. He supposed he should actually lay down all of his own cards before asking his guests of anything. And he calls down from the Raptors, and down comes Bullseye. Now he can be the same from the Daredevil TV show, but we can also give him a nice, cool suit. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some fan art. Let me actually look that up. Bullseye Daredevil suit. Ah, of course. What did I expect? Of course it's him in that fake suit. Ooh. Oh, I just found something really cool. They basically just removed the horns from the Daredevil costume he was wearing, but it kind of works. You know, just make his eyes obviously revealed, and it has that same bullseye marking on his forehead. Um, so he's decided, okay, yeah, we can work with this. Okay, so um, we can kind of adapt some of the events from the show. We don't really know how canon they are. We just know that Daredevil exists in the MCU. But he's basically gonna have that that replica Daredevil costume that he had from the show. But the horns are gonna be removed. All of the red is going to be gray. Yeah, all of the red is gonna be gray. The horns are going to be removed, and he's gonna have the bullseye logo on the middle of the forehead. He's decided to take inspiration from his former rival and nemesis, the man who he believes humiliated him. Um, he says that this man once helped him. This man once helped and assisted in nearly taking down the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. He figures he'd give him another shot at the opportunity. But for now, this is what they need. This is for now. This Spider-Man is just that little bit more important. And internally, he muses that he's just more of an annoyance than anything. But they agree, and Tombstone ends up he calls over his own two enforcers. There's a very very large muscle bound man in what appears to be some kind of rhinoceros based armor. He's stepping out in some kind of mechanized armor, and he claims that this man is Alexi. This man, his name is Alexi, but he just calls him. He's taken a liking to the name of Rhino as of late, and once again it's PS4 Spider-Man. Everyone, even Kingpin, even if he doesn't show it, they're all kind of intimidated at this absolutely hulking brute of a man. Um, he says that he was apparently a part of some kind of another attempt to replicate the super soldiers. Specifically, they attempted to recreate. They wanted to create their own Hulks, but they went about it in quite a different way. No gamma radiation here, but it did cause an absolute overgrowth in terms of physical stature. Unfortunately, it's affected his mind just a little bit, but otherwise, he's quite sharp. Makes a little bit of a a little bit of a nod, a little bit of a joke towards his giant rhinoceros horn. And beyond that, he's called in the services of one Craven the Hunter. Apparently, his brother was involved in that whole Mysterio fiasco, and he wants a shot at the spider. He wants to hunt him down for some kind of personal sport. He doesn't really care. It's all business to him, so long as they can take care of this professionally, efficiently, and as quickly as possible. This is where Hammerhead ends up popping in. He's like, I didn't know I was the only one with my own little backup of freaks. Whatever. He ends up he walks over to open up a window. Everyone is kind of on guard, only for some sand to blow in. It quickly ends up taking the form of a full person, and as this is happening, electricity starts to flicker all around the place. Um, he ends up calling in his own little group. He calls this is Flint Marco and Max Dillon. Uh, it seems his freaks are much more powerful. He's been looking for the big guns. The Maggia crime family is going to be on top at the end of all this, and he makes a very clear threat. But he ends up backing down. It's clear that this spider guy needs to be taken care of. So he's willing to lend his and his men's services. For now, at least. So we have our own version of the Sinister Six. It is going to be including Bullseye, who is more of a daredevil villain. Um, yeah, Bullseye. Did I seriously forget who else I had? Scorpion. Jesus Christ. Um, yeah. So Bullseye, Scorpion, Electro, Sandman, and you can imagine them however you like. I'm gonna be imagining Electro as in the PS4 from the Insomniac universe, and I'm not really sure. I'm just gonna give him Sandman is gonna be more generic. I don't really care. He can kind of look. Maybe he can kind of look like how he does in Spectacular, but it's whatever. Rhino is going to look like how he does in PS4, and Craven the Hunter, who actually has yet to make his appearance. Everyone else is here, but Craven has yet to properly get to America just yet. He's been gathering his resources, and he's actually been working to free his brother first and foremost. But yeah, so we now have our own assembled version of the Sinister Six. But as I'm sure you already heard me mention, there are some other street level heroes out there who are going to be willing to lend their hand. And yeah, so I guess we could get into like the beginnings of the second act. This is kind of like the establishing of the first act. We get all of our characters, our main villain. So I guess we can kind of move into the second act and see if I can finish it up. Um, okay, so moving forward, Spider-Man is once again. We have Peter. He's once again on patrol. He's taking care of some basic muggings and all that kind of stuff. He's on a call with Michelle as he's swinging throughout the city. He's on a call with MJ. They're discussing their applications to some of the colleges and universities, and Peter has kind of made it clear he doesn't really care exactly where he goes. He just kind of wants to stick with MJ and Ned. Right now, his relationship with them is one of the very good, more domestic things in his life. It really helps him keep things stable. Not that he views them as like any kind of tool to relax or anything. That's my cat, sorry. Not that he really views them as some kind of tool for relaxation or anything. He's stumbling over his words, but Michelle quickly intervenes that she gets it. He just wants to be able to relax with his friends and the people he cares about. His job is stressful. The things that he does are stressful. And here we kind of get that same kind of question that she kind of had in the movie, if if he ever wished that he was never Spider-Man, if this is really kind of what he wants to do, and he claims that it's kind of a mix between wanting and needing to do. He doesn't really think he'd be able to live with himself if he turned away from people who needed help, but helping people makes him happy. He likes helping people, and he's sure he knows that there are other ways to go about helping people. That's why he wants to one day work at Horizon Labs. That's why he wants to become a scientist. And here, he's talking with her. He's like, "You wanted to become a reporter?" He's like, how has your interning with the Bugle been going? And she's like, oh, don't remind me. Honestly, I don't even know how Jameson ended up letting me get that interning job. Considering my connection with you, he probably just wants a whole bunch of information for his little web show. And he kind of laughs. He's like, yeah, but at least, but it looks like they're moving into more traditional journalism with her talking in his ear. So he doesn't really mind if Jameson tries to push out some pieces, trying to trash talk him. Him and all the people that matter in his life know the truth anyway. So he doesn't really care if Jameson is trying to say anything to discredit him. And she ends up pointing out that he may not care, but that doesn't mean it doesn't really matter. Maybe it doesn't matter on a personal level, but at the end of the day, Spider Man, Peter Parker, is a public figure. There's not too much of a separation between the two anymore because ever since his identity reveal. So he needs to kind of be a little bit more careful and a little bit more cautious, much more aware of just what it is he's getting into, which he acknowledges. He does state that she has a point, and he can see where she's coming from. He's gonna have to. He's not exactly Tony Stark. He knows that for sure. So he can't play things off the way he did, and he definitely doesn't have the money or resources. Well, which she is quick to step in and rebuttal. You very much do have the resources. Pepper is willing to help out anytime. She made that very clear. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want to have to rely on that. I want to be able to do it on my own. Adult stuff. But they are quickly called off when he hears some sirens, and he's like, "Gotta go." And she's like, "Yep, good luck, Tiger." Which kind of causes him to briefly stutter in midair. He asks, "What?" And she's like, She was trying out a new nickname. Does it not work?" She's a little shy when she ends up asking that. Once again, showing that she's not exactly the best relationship person. She's not the she's not as cool in regards to the more personal stuff. She can be brought to a blushing mess as well, just like she can be brought to stuttering and stumbling over her words the way Peter does. But he ends up reassuring her that it's fine. He kind of liked it. But he does kind of have to get to this, and it gets a little awkward, but she says, yeah, go take care of them. We'll see you later. We'll see you later for dinner, right? They're gonna be meeting up to have some dinner at his place with Aunt May and everyone. And he's like, yeah, see you then. He then hangs up and he heads out to investigate what exactly was causing all the crashing noises. He ends up coming upon a few turned over police cars and some devastation to Times Square. He's definitely confused. What the hell happened? He ends up landing and he's able to catch a police car that seemed to have been launched by sand on the other side of the plaza, more close to those red steps. And in front of the billboards, electricity seems to be pouring out, like almost flowing like water, with the way it's coalescing into one point before lightning shoots towards him and the cop car that he caught, that he was just barely able to keep from crushing a police officer. He's quick to drop the car. He's quick to launch the car in the direction of the lightning before webbing up the police officer and retreating. He gets him to a safe place and briefly asks him what exactly is going on, but Karen is quick to intervene and inform him that there is a very powerful spike of energy in the surrounding area. Um, he looks over, his spider sense tingling, and he once again has to move with the cop. He settles him down and tells him to get out of here and to get into contact with to get into to get into contact with the rest of the police force and to focus on evacuating. They need to get the buildings and they need to get to whatever buildings in the area completely clear of civilians in case this gets out of hand. You ask him what exactly he's going to be doing, and he says he's going to try and do what he does best: save as many people as he can. So he gets to work, and he's trying to avoid all of these lightning blasts and these swarms of sand. He has no idea what's going on. He almost thinks that Beck is at it again, but asking Karen to get into contact with Edith and scan the area for any drones, he finds none. It seems like these are bona fide super powered individuals, so he's gonna have to take this a lot more seriously. He's making great use of his spider sense. He's dodging anywhere that he can. He's making use of the buildings to um, to try to get away from the sand and the lightning. It's very clear that they can't, they don't mesh well together. The electricity is superheating the sand and causing it to turn into a molten glass slag. So he actually tries to take advantage of that. But after a few times of this happening, the the attacks stop coming and he can hear some yelling. The sand and electricity end up coalescing into individuals, and he's confused. What the hell? So these are people, and they're made out of the sand and electricity? He has no idea what to make of this, but he tries to fire a web at the two of them. He tries to make contact with them in their more physical forms, and it briefly works. He's able to send out a recent discovery to his grand arsenal of web combinations. Um, a kind of cement-like webbing. It's able to quickly harden over the Sandman, as he calls him, and it actually causes him to begin to more properly solidify. Although it only hit him in the chest, and it wasn't enough to properly solidify his body and his head, so he was able to quickly dissolve the rest of his body and escape back into the sandstorm, saying, "Whoa, don't want to get hit by that again." Electro himself is actually hit by a type of webbing that is conductive and is no, not conductive. He ends up getting hit by the same kind of seemingly the same kind of um, concrete webbing, but it solidifies into more some kind of polymer. He's not exactly sure what it is. It seems to be some kind of gel or foam, and it's quickly trying to spread across his body, but he's able to retreat a portion of himself into the nearby billboard. And that definitely peeves Peter. It's going to be hard dealing with them in such an open area where they have so many ways of escaping. He's going to have to try and figure out some kind of way to box them in. Before he can try that, though, they are once more quick to try to swarm him. This is where things begin to become much more of a struggle for him. He's trying to get his way. He's trying to fight his way out of them. Specifically, the sandstorm is what ends up swallowing him up. Um, Sandman actually thinks that he has them. Seems like they'll be able to collect that bounty from the boss. But before he can comment anything further, um, electricity is actually beginning to spark from inside of him, and it's once more causing him to solidify into glass. He's quick to try to escape away, but a hand peeks out from the ball of glass that's in the center, and he ends up getting hit in the face with that cement webbing, and he's hit with quite a lot of it, and almost a stream of it, and it ends up solidifying his body into a solid casing that he can't kind of dissolve into sand from. All of the sand in the area ends up falling, um, as it was not a main part of his body or consciousness. He was more so focusing himself in just that one point in time. So now there's a statue of a man with a striped shirt, pants, and well, he's not really able to make out too many other features like what color hair he has, considering the nature of the cement. He hopes that that didn't kill him. Otherwise, he's pretty sure he'd be in trouble. The internet would take that and run with it, and he's also pretty sure that he'd be guilty for the rest of his life. But he ends up breaking out of his little glass confinement, and he tries to go for Electro. This is where he is interrupted once more by a gunshot. He's able to just barely dodge out of the way, and his attempt to use his foam webbing ends up missing. He's only able to get Electro's arm. He is quick enough, however, to try to fire something at one of his. He tries to fire something at the foam that's formed over his hand. Electro kind of seems to not really care about it. He tries to bust out of it using some electricity, and it ends up working, and it fries the little tracer Spider-Man tried to put on him. And he laments that it probably wouldn't have worked anyway, as the sniper and this Electro guy end up retreating. All he has is this Sandman. He hopes that the effects of the cement webbing isn't going to be permanent on what is essentially living sand. Um, Sandman is then brought in, and Peter is left to contemplate what the hell was that. He wonders if this has anything to do with what he heard before, but he's not going to be having too much time as the NYPD rolls up, and he ends up turning in Sandman over to the police. He briefly asks if he'd be able to be notified of any information they get. He ends up sharing his concerns that this may be a part of a more organized scheme. Yeah, but some of the police try to brush him off, only for a certain captain that we all know from the Insomniac game to stop them. She tells him, "Look, kid, I understand that you want to help people, that you want to protect the people you care about, but we can't exactly have you interfering in police investigations. Normally, at least." She ends up handing him her contact information on her card, similarly to how it was pointed out in the PS4 game. If you collected all the backpacks, you know what I'm talking about. He hands her a card, says that she'll be getting in touch with him later to keep close to his phone. And when he ends up asking her how exactly is she gonna do that, she ends up walking away, saying that she'll figure it out. She has her own resources. Um, that kind of catches him off guard. He's not really sure what to do with that, but he says that if anything, he'll probably just end up calling her for an update sometime later. Right now, he has a dinner to get to, although he does wonder if, with all of these, with what looks to be a few supervillains coming out of the woodworks, maybe he's gonna have to use that recent upgrade of his that he's been working on. Either way, he has to get home. So he ends up heading home. He ends up in his apartment with May. He's actually been considering moving out soon. Depends really. They're going to be getting their acceptance letters soon, so they'll be able to this when they get their acceptance letters from all of their colleges, from their main picks and their backups. They'll come to a decision as to where exactly they want to go before deciding whether or not they want to move. So Peter is he's gonna be having a nice family dinner, with May happy. They're gonna be a proper relationship and just instead of just the fling that they were. They're gonna be a bit more of a settle. I don't really want to discount, because adults can have flings, obviously. That's fine if they have something casual, but here they have something a little more cemented. Um, Maybe it's still kind of like a casual thing. They don't really play up the romance. They just enjoy each other's time, enjoy each other's company. It's a bit more of a platonic bond instead of the romantic one, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. They're confidants to each other, and they lament together over the stress that is Peter Parker. But yeah, he's with May, Happy, Ned, and MJ. They're all celebrating together. MJ ends up informing them that they recently got the news as to those two guys that Peter was taking down earlier. Jameson already wants to write some kind of ridiculous headline. Spider-Man, mass, what is it? What is it? Threat or menace? In cahoots with Sandman and Electro. Maybe this is where we get the names. Either Peter names them or Jameson does. But he's kind of like, cahoots? Who uses cahoots? They share a little laugh over that. But they kind of get serious. He's like, I think it might have to do with what I told you guys before, what I warned you about. I think this might be something. I think this might be the sign of something bigger. Um, Hogan Happy ends up asking him if he wants to get into contact with any Avengers. He knows that it's gonna be Christmas time soon. Maybe maybe they'll be in the spirit of giving help, that is. And he tells him for now he thinks he has it handled, but definitely get in contact with Pepper and send the word out. There might be something going down in New York soon, so keep an eye on the news and be ready to move out if they need to. He wants to be able to handle it himself, but he's grown up in a world with superheroes. He's more than willing to accept help if he feels he needs it. Um, Either way, they end up deciding that for now they just want to enjoy their time together, so they go back into their meal. Unbeknownst to them, Craven was the one to interrupt that final little confrontation he tried to have with Electro, and he feels he's seen a decent amount, but he wants to see what the other two members can dish out against. He wants to see what everyone else can do against the spider before moving in to make his kill. He wants to get as much information on him that he possibly can, and as well as his capabilities. So he's going to be planning some things kind of outside from what the mob bosses are planning. Beyond that, the villains and his friends were not the only ones to take notice of this, this big old uptick in crime and the very public battle that they had. Um, Luke isn't really a certain Luke Cage isn't exactly one for um, too deeply investigating the criminal underworld. He's a bit more of a reactive hero. Not to say that he's not willing to get his hands dirty and really put the beat down on and start looking out for any threats, but this has definitely caught his attention. He's been wondering what Lincoln has been up to, what this big man has been up to, and he wants to take care of it as quickly as possible. Maybe this spider kid will be able to help. Maybe not. Either way, it'd be best to give the kid a heads up. And a certain devil of Hell's Kitchen, a very certain lawyer, is thinking much the same. He's listening to the news with Foggy and Karen, and he wonders if he should step in and lend the kid his help. It seems like he can handle things very well, considering he's apparently fighting guys made out of sand and electricity, far beyond the even the crazier guys that he's fought himself. But he may need some help in regards to the more organized side of crime. He himself can also tell that this is just a prelude to something bigger. It'd be best to lend his services as early and as quickly as possible before things get out of hand. So we're gonna end things off here. Um, the next part is probably just gonna be wrapping things up and alluding to another film, as well as tackling some possible ramifications this may have for the future. But yeah, aside from that, this is going to be the part one to what if Peter Parker. Mm, maybe we should rename it. What if MCU Spider-Man was superior? Yeah, I like the sound of that, don't you? Well, either way, that's where we'll end it. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you like and what you don't. Leave your criticism in the comments below. I am more than willing to listen. But if you're going to be a dick, don't waste any of our time. Go find something else to do with your time. Have some fun, but don't do it at the expense of others. Hit that notification bell if you want to keep up to date with any of my other updates, and that will be all. I will be tackling the next What If. It's going to be a bit of a crossover, but it's going to be focused on some DC elements. So I hope you like it, and yeah, that'll be the end of this video. Bye bye.